everyone. Thank you once again for joining our career development webinar. We're in a career development series, and I talk anything that has to do with career. The name of my channel is New Generation Man, where we try to talk about things that develop a new generation man, so that every man out there or woman too can be the best version of themselves. So, in the bid to do that and to like encourage people and share knowledge, I decided to come up with a topic about work and mental health, because I know a lot of people they do get burnout, or they feel that their mental health is at stake. When they are working a particular job due to the nature of the complexities of the role. So I just decided, okay, let me put something together and you just have a conversation about this and share my thoughts. Then I'll also give opportunity for those on the call to share their personal experience and also give us insights into what they think about, generally about work life balance and mental health, because I think it's very important that someone is in the right mental health when they are working. And if maybe you are not in the right mental health, what are the things you can do when you are job hunting? What are the things you should confirm, and things like that. So without further delay, let me just share my screen. I'm going to pull up like a presentation that I did that kind of guide us through you know what I have regarding mental health. Just a second. I'll share my screen shortly. Let me admit some people. Okay. So, so I'll share my screen shortly so that we'll go rip into the conversation. So if you can see my screen, please do let me know. Is my screen
Yes, I can see your screen.
excellent? Thank you so much. So now let's go to presentation mode. Yeah, so work-life balance and mental health in career development. So this presentation explores critical, insights into mental health and career development. We'll discuss, factors that affect mental health and how it affects your job. So why does mental health matter? According to like statistics, it shows a high priority of professionals. 70% they consider their mental health before taking out of any job. Like is a key factor when even recruiters are also recruiting. And burnout is a recognized concern for a lot of people. And you will notice that in the post COVID, a lot of companies have embraced remote style of work and hybrid type of work, and it's because they understand that it's always good for there to be a balance, and people having to have good mental health. So we did notice that before COVID a lot of companies didn't even think about working remote or hybrid, but COVID really gave us an opportunity to let us know that things can be done a better way. And salary, balance, value over salary. So for this point, especially when I was taking up a new role, those are part of the factors I considered, because I did have to ask if hybrid options were available, because as much as work is important, you need time to balance, especially when you're living in a city like Lagos, where there's high traffic, the hustle and bustle. That was very important to me, that okay, it's not just about the money. Am I able to balance my life, being able to work hybrid? Do you understand? So those are concerns that you should think about. And another thing I would also discuss maybe in the next slide, key trends that we've noticed. Like yes, I already mentioned about remote and hybrid demands. The shift to remote and hybrid work continues to grow, because this offer increased flexibility for employees. Yes, most exactly. It offers increased flexibility for employees. The mental health days are becoming standard benefit package. Yes, especially in the US jobs that I see. There's always a huge, package with mental health, and letting you know that, okay, they are very concerned about your mental health, and there are packages available for your mental health. And in my previous role in teleperformance, we did have a particular unit where they were dealing with like kind of like intense kind of work, where they speak with people, maybe they're in accidents and things like that. So because of the sensitive nature of that job, they decided to create a wellness team for them, so that every week or two or three times a week, they try to speak to the therapist to kind to decompress, because they understand the nature of the role, and that they don't want them to be too You don't want it to affect their mind. So that's a company example that is moving forward and is thinking about the mental health of their employees and already understanding the nature of the job and putting things available to help their mental health. Do you get? So the reason why I'm saying this is because these are factors that people need to consider when choosing a particular job. But even if your company does not specifically state that they have mental health packages, another thing you can consider is your HMO. Your HMO does have mental health packages if you are not aware. Because if you maybe need to speak to a psychologist, due to maybe work concerns, your HMO can actually cover some of those sessions. Because I did have that experience. That okay, I needed to talk to someone, and my did HMO did cover it. So yes, your company may not outrightly like state it, but if you do more investigation about your HMO packages and what they offer, you would realize that okay, you do have opportunities to explore that option and have a balance life. Then companies are investing in mindfulness programs, therapies across various industry across. Yes, wellness stipends. These initiatives support employee well-being. Yes, especially yes, like I said, in the US companies, I've noticed that a lot actually, where um you notice that the benefits and the things that they provide. You notice that the company will let you know that I think every quarter or every year there's actually a budget for there's a budget for your wellness. So a lot of companies in the US actually do that. There's a particular budget for employee wellness, and that's something a lot of people actually do take advantage of. Yeah, so what professionals really want. So yes, when talking about mental health, mental health in the workplace and to avoid burnout, is more about a balance. And how can organizations actually find that balance? Is by maintaining flexible work schedules. Um, that's very important because in the current organization that I have, flexible work schedule, 2 days hybrid, 3 days in the office. And and the hybrid options, definitely you make sure that you're available during the work time. That's very important, but because you are home, you can get a lot of work done, and schedules can be flexible, that kind of thing. And another thing that also causes burnout is meaningful work. This is very very funny because there are some roles that you do, like maybe the tasks are very repetitive, you don't find purpose and vision in doing it, and you don't feel the work that you are doing is meaningful. That kind of thing may cause a lot of burnout, especially maybe when it's repetitive. Although a lot of roles in customer service sometimes may be like that, but sometimes you just need to find purpose and fulfillment in what you are doing. So, and that's where kind of how will I even say it, engagement is very important, because some organizations, they don't do well in engagement, in making people understand the impact of the work that they are doing. So if you don't feel your work is meaningful, it could cause you to have mental stress and eventual burnout. Supportive leadership. This is very important because sometimes a an agent or an employee sometimes can only be as good as his leader. Leadership is a very key, thing to the success and an employee blossoming in an industry and doing well and avoiding burnout. So, and again, let's also realize that leaders are human. They are also learning the process and trying to grow. Nobody brought the leadership stick from heaven. You get that kind of thing. So we just need to cut them some slack, but at the same time, we need to also point it out that they actually play a key role in making sure that the space is safe and is open for conversations and growth, that kind of thing. So open conversations, discussions about stress, burnout, and boundaries, creating a safe space for mental health talks. That's one very good thing that my organization currently do. So from time to time, they bring up like health talks and try to speak to us about our health concerns and things like that. So having those conversations, I think it kind of helps to decompress, and it gives people a safe space. But what I still feel is that people should actually take personal responsibility of their mental health at work, and actually, apart from all the activities maybe your company designs, you should have something of your own that you do you understand, that helps you to maintain your mental health. That's another thing. So impact on job choices. So rejecting high paying offers, candidates often decline lucrative roles, um roles, maybe because it doesn't work well with their schedule. Some people, maybe a lot of women to do that, maybe because of they want to pay attention to the family, they can maybe take a lesser role that gives them more time, or maybe they understand that, oh, this job will take a lot of my attention, and as a result of that, I may not be able to give my best in the home front. So maybe they take a lesser pay so that they can focus. Then culture over title. So company culture is now important than the job title. For many young professionals, this impacts the hiring process. Yes, there are a lot of companies that actually have good culture, but the challenge with that sometimes, especially in the Nigerian market space, you sometimes you cannot really tell a company's culture until maybe you know someone working there that can give you an insight or about the culture, or most of the time is maybe until you start working there, that's when you understand the culture of the organization. But speaking to the point, when you are job searching, you need to understand the organizational culture. Is this a kind of place where I can air my opinions without any sense of judgment? Can I walk up to the head of the organization if I have a concern? Can I ask questions? And most of the time, when you are taking up a job, it's always better to be honest, I don't advise you to message random people on LinkedIn and ask them if it's a good place to work. They will obviously tell you it's a good place. But if maybe you have someone in your private contacts, that can give you better insight into how the organization is, that would be very good, so that you know whether, okay, should I accept this offer? Because having a good culture, is going to really affect your work and eventually your mental health. Higher retention. Employers support the mental health leads to increase retention and satisfaction. Yeah, yes, of course. So definitely, if there's huge support in mental health, employees tend to stay, because if people are happy, they will not go. That's the truth. People stay longer in organizations where they are happy, and they tend not to leave. Do you get? So there will definitely going to be higher retention rates. So real world examples. So according to some of the research I did, we did find, I was even surprised that Olumo Health, that's I think the health care center in Olumo Rock, they do offer free or limited, mental health assessment to their employees. Google also offers that. Limepack also offers that. Speaking of which, Google is one of the dream companies I want to work for, and it will happen. Anyway, so when I saw this there, I was like, okay, wow, that they offer medical coaching and mindfulness training. They invest in their employees' well-being. So this is something that a lot of people, a lot of companies rather, pay attention to, and is a key factor in employee retention. But in summary, so what questions do you ask yourself, like when you want to take up a role? Flexibility over pay. Would you choose a flexible? Would you choose flexibility over higher paycheck? Consider your priorities. That's what is important to you. Uh, you being having flexible time to be able to do your work and also catch up with other things. Is that more important than a higher pay? So does your current role truly support your mental needs? That's also another thing. So that's why I was making that point earlier, that your company may not necessarily offer a lot of mental health support, but in the HMO that they offer, there could be where you can access mental health support there. So that's something you should can try to analyze. What does balance look like for you personally? So yes, like I said, apart from anything else that the organization is doing, you need to find a way to balance your own mental health, because especially in a place where we are, a lot of things can, I'll even say this, can go out of control. A lot of things can't not go the way you thought it would be, and you still need to keep a clear head and keep your mental focus and still get the job done. So irrespective of what the company is offering or things like that, you need to find a way to actually deal with your mental health and stress levels so that you can be effective at your role. So action point for jobs inquiry. Yeah, inquire during interviews. Yes, and that's a very good question to ask actually. Don't be afraid to ask, because during the point of interview, especially maybe you are at the last stage and it's obvious that, oh, they are considering you. You could ask that, okay, what are the mental health packages that they have to support their staff? So some of them can tell you that, oh, we will do regular health checks with our people. we hold regular health talks. You can, our HMO has this, and this. So ask, because it's about your health and your well-being. And if you're not mentally stable and well, you will not be able to do the work. So I think that's a very key factor, before you take the role, and ask, so that if those situations arise, you understand, you know where to turn to kind of like get help and things like that. Research the company's policies too. So yes, a lot of people may not do this, but some organizations have an employee handbook that actually states all their policies, the things that you can do, the things that you can access. It may be a lot of work, but I always do advise that with time that you actually go through it and look at what the policy states and how you can take advantage of it. It says prioritize sustainable roles, seek roles where you can sustainable thrive long term, and well-being is key. So for this one, I would say it. Everybody is actually looking for sustainable roles, where they can strive long time and grow. But sometimes, especially in a country where we are in Nigeria, where uh, good jobs or jobs in general are not so rampant. Do you understand? Most of the time, most people just kind of like take what they have at hand and try and work it out. But the point is that if you have the opportunity to choose, choose well and just pick something that that can really balance it out for you. Okay, so action point from employer. So this one is just speaking to what employers can do, to keep a proper, you know, work-life balance and keep mental health in the forefront, and normalize mental health days, train managers, and build psychological safety, foster a culture of psychology safety. Employees should feel free to speak up. Yeah, I also said that you see a place where you can talk about what you are. If you have a question about a maybe a work process or a policy, is there an organization that you can openly ask a question? So that's actually very key. So basically, that's what I have about mental health, and I'm curious to actually throw the floor open to hear from people. Like number one question I'd like to ask is one, how do you balance your mental health in a workplace? Two is not how, what experiences have you had where you felt that the place you were maybe was a bit toxic and was affecting your mental health, and what you decided to do. You get, so those are like the two things I would like to ask. So does anyone would like to like share their thoughts and experience so that we can all gain some insights?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Segun, thank you so much for that presentation. Okay, I would like to jump in and share some things on this subject because it's a bit of my field. Because aside from a fashion entrepreneur, I'm a mind coach. So, I thought I could help the listeners to with a few points on how they can help maintain their mental health with good work-life balance. When I saw the topic, I wrote out some points, practical steps, practical points that you can employ to help you maintain good mental health in a work-life balance. And I'd like to share those points. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay. So speaking from the perspective of a mind coach, so when we talk about mental health, what we're really talking about is mind management. So how do you manage your mind to be effective and not feel like you are overwhelmed or have a burnout? Because aside from the work that you do, you have other aspects of your life that require your attention. So your mental health, when it comes to your work to a certain degree, is a function of how you maintain your time, your attention, your energy for the effectiveness of your mind for your work and other things in your life. So the first point that I put down that one can employ, like now I'm talking practical steps. Number one is for you to take one day at a time. Because sometimes when you are given a task or you want to do something, if you look at it, in the lump sum of thing that you have to do, it might feel like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. Can I really do it? But you see, when you have that perspective, that's actually the beginning of stress. That's actually the beginning of the whole headache. Just do the much you can do in a day. Take one day at a time because little drops of water make a mighty ocean. Because if you look at it, 60 seconds make 1 minute, 60 minutes make 1 hour, 24 hours make one day. So it's not like there is a whole day, it's in bits. And so you should actually have the same approach to what you're doing. When you start out your day, just take one day at a time. When you're thinking about the things that you have to do, just take it in bits, little by little by little by little by little, and before long you would achieve so much. So don't overburden yourself or overburden your mind with the enormity of your task, of your role. Just think about what is in front of you in this moment and how best you can do it. Then you go again the next day. Then you go again the next day. Because the thing about the way the mind works, sometimes when it's towards the end of the day, your mind feels very fagged out. Sometimes your mind feels tired. It's actually not your mind that is tired. It's probably your some of the muscles in your brain area and things like that. You just feel mentally fatigued and you feel like, oh, I can't do this anymore. By the time you sleep and wake up in the morning, it's like you have fresh energy. It's like you have fresh strength. And that thing that seems overwhelming is not so overwhelming. So for us to have, you know, for us to have time to walk every day, there's a reason why God designed things to be daily, because he doesn't expect us to like do everything at once. Just do the little that you can do every single day. So that's the first point. Then the second point is take breaks during work. Sometimes Shegun mentioned something about a work that is monotonous, like maybe customer service and things like that. There are times where you just want to like take a break for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes just to take your mind away from that particular thing. There's something it does to your mind psychologically. Maybe you just take your phone and just watch some reels for 10 minutes, something entertaining, just to relax your mind. So it's like a mental kind of, it's just like maybe it's those that are sitting for long hours and like, okay, let me just stretch my body and walk. It's the same thing. You need to also apply it to your mind. You need to like move out of that space for a moment and stretch your mind and come back. You realize that by the time you come back, you're going to have a different kind of energy and perspective to that work. It will help to give you some sort of um, renewed strength, as it were, to do the work for that particular day. So if you make a practice of just taking a 15 minutes break, it doesn't necessarily have to be with your phone. You can just engage in a conversation with someone that is very, very separate from work, that is not work related. So that's another thing that you can do. Then another point that I put down is to maintain a wholesome perspective. Now, this is very, very important because as an individual, you cannot afford to be negative minded. When I say maintain a wholesome perspective, Shagun mentioned something about maybe if you are working in a toxic environment. See, if you know that this work environment is toxic, you cannot afford not to maintain a wholesome perspective, because your perspective determines your experience, how you view something. Because you can look at a cup and say it's half full or it's half empty. Now if you decide to say it is half full, there's a way to make you feel. If you decide to say it's half empty, there's a way to make you feel. So even if you're in a workspace and there are like toxic people around you, you have to make up your mind as a person to maintain a wholesome perspective. Don't be negative minded. Even if somebody, you know that this person is a manipulative one, whatever, 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 just have a perspective that, oh, okay, this person, okay, just make an excuse for the person, or maybe she didn't really mean it like that, or maybe that thing that she said, maybe that's not how she really wanted to say it. That's so whatever happens in your work environment, just maintain a wholesome perspective, pick the good parts. Because if you don't do that, you see the kind of mental stress you'll be giving yourself. You just be, and you see, the more you give attention to negativity, the more negativity appears. Not because it's really there, but that is just the way the mind works.
Yeah.
That is just how it works. So it's important for you as an individual. And sometimes these things that people call that is toxic environment, sometimes it is those people that are even amplifying it in their experience because they don't really know how to maintain a wholesome perspective. And it's all about your perspective. People will be people. There are some people that are bad, no matter what, they are bad. And some people that they are really good and nice. But you are responsible for how you see. You are responsible for how you perceive. Nobody is responsible for that. How you react, it is your responsibility. And so that, you see, this aspect is one of the major parts of maintaining your mental health in a work-life balance, because you really can't control the people around you, what they do and how they do what they do. But one good thing you can have a control over is your perspective, because your perspective determines your experience. And so, if you want to really have a peaceful experience, you have to make a practice of maintaining a wholesome perspective. It's very, very important. Then the next point I want to address to talk about is finding a partner to talk to. You see, having a partner is very, very important, because not all the time would you want to say, or you want to book a session with a mind coach or with a counselor to talk to and things like that. But you always need somebody to talk to. So for those that are married, they could get home and they talk to their spouse. But for you that are not married, you have to find somebody to talk to, either in the workplace, a friend, a colleague in church, or whatever. But you must have that partner. It may be a colleague, it may be a colleague at work, it may be a friend from church, maybe you guys attend the same church, the same department, and you guys are close. It may be your partner, your husband, or your wife. But it is so important that there is somebody you talk to about this person that stressed you, this person that said something at work that you didn't like. Just the fact that you are talking to somebody and somebody is listening to you is very therapeutic for you,
Yeah.
to help maintain your mental health. So if you don't have somebody like that, go and, well, look for someone like that, but you have to be very, very careful, because people can be very wonderful. That's why oftentimes people actually, trust their spouse, because when you want to have someone like that, it has to be someone trusted, someone that is a confidant. And that's why sometimes people like, maybe pay professionals, counselors, mind coach, people like me, to talk to them and things like that. And that's because they feel that, oh, we can be more professional with our work, you understand, and they can have that confidence in us. And then not just that we are listening to them, we can also give them help them acquire a wholesome perspective about the situation that is stressing them. I heard a quote somewhere that said, it's not the situation that is stressing you, it is your thoughts about the situation that is stressing you. So, what are your thoughts? It still goes back to maintaining a wholesome perspective. So, sometimes when you talk to the right person, the person can help you, not only listen to you and give you this therapeutic listening here. The person could also help you gain a wholesome perspective. So probably the reason why you are feeling tense and you are feeling stressed is because of your perspective. So when you talk to someone, it's one of the things that I do as a mind coach, is to help whoever I'm talking to gain a wholesome perspective. When the person is able to gain a wholesome perspective, they will just feel different about the whole thing. They'll just be like, oh, and it's true, and it's true. You may not be like that, and that thing you said, oh, and it's true. And so you see, that wholesome perspective begins to change the state of your emotion. And one of the reasons why people experience some mental stress issues at work is because of the impact of their perspective on their emotion. And that's why one of the major key aspects of maintaining your mental health in your workspace is the part of maintaining your wholesome perspective, because that perspective has so much great impact on your emotion. If you can shift your mind and see things differently, you will feel differently. So, and it's that feeling that is what we call overwhelming, is what we call stress, is that emotion that is associated with that perspective, that is now making you, in quote, feel the way you are feeling, whether happy, sad, excited, and all that and all that. So, these are the points that I put down.
Wow.
I'm a mind coach. I can go on and on and on and on, but
Yeah.
I hope that with these few points, you've been able to gain something as to how to maintain your mental balance in a work life, your
Yeah.
mental health in a work life space. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ricky Bash. Like you really broke it down. And I like the points that you raised. Like you made it know that sometimes it's your mind. Do you understand? It's the way you are thinking about it. Do you get? Because like I also said when I was speaking, that a lot of situations can happen. But it's the way you address it. So your mind positioning about any situation or an issue at work is actually very key to how you kind of like manage your mental health or stress levels. So thank you so much for those nuggets. So I think Elena has a hand up. So Elena, would you like to make a contribution or you just like to ask a question generally?
Thank you, Segun. Thank you, Bukola. That was what you said was actually very highly insightful. For contribution and question at the same time. Let me ask a question. Okay, you talked about mental health in the workplace. Um, in terms of this mental health in the workplace, you missed out communication in the workplace. For example, you have bosses who don't know how to communicate, and they feel the best way they can communicate is by yelling, shouting, yelling, which is not good for your mental health. So at some point, when you yell at someone too much, it starts affecting the person's mental health. It makes the person look dumb or makes the person go numb. The person will not, if the person has so much potential and so much to say, but the person will be scared of contributing so that he or she would not make mistake. And whereby he or she is being asked question, she's answering that question instead of her, but she cannot say it out because she doesn't want to make mistake or because she doesn't want to say the wrong thing so that she'll not be yelled at. How do you deal with a boss who practically doesn't communicate but yells at every given point in time? Every given point in time, a boss who feels he knows it all, and he works in the midst of people who don't know anything, and he knows it all, and there is really nothing you can do to satisfy him or to make your work look good in his presence. How do you deal with that? Because that seriously affects mental health of a whole lot of people where I work. Thank you.
Okay, Helena,
Okay.
can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, Basia.
Okay, yeah. So, because I feel like that question is really direct to mind management, and I said something. I said something before about that. I said you really cannot control people's reaction or action, but you can control your own perspective and your reaction. Now, when you have a boss that all they do is yell, you cannot change them. That is their formula. That's their format. Except God helps you, you just go to your house and go and pray, and So, but in a situation where you're not thinking of spirituality, it's just work, practical and stuff. You cannot change that person. That person is that person. That is a fact. But what you can work on is you. So, number one, you need to have a conversation with yourself about this person. That, okay, this person, no matter what, this person is going to shout. So, number one, your mental preparedness for that personality is important. So, you see, when you are expecting that, oh, would this person, which day would this person stop shouting at me? Why would this cell shout? That you see, you are just wasting your time. So, don't say, oh, this person should change. You go back in your corner and prepare your mind that this person is going to shout. So, when this person shouts, what is going to be my reaction? So because a lot of times what happens is that people just expect other people to behave right or flow in the way that is okay for them. People will not always behave like that, because people are people, and what they just really want is the results. Their lack of communication is not your problem. You are not the one that caused it. Some of them, it might just be their own issues, that is causing them to behave like that. Because everybody has issues. It might be their upbringing, it might be their background, it may be the fact that maybe the person just got a bad news, it may be that, so many factors could contribute to that kind of behavior from a boss, which you have no clue about and which you have no control over. And so, as a staff, as a person, prepare your mind for that character. Is a setting. So now, when you prepare your mind for that character, when that thing happens, because you are prepared, it hits you emotionally differently. Because you have known that, okay, this person will shout, and this is what I plan to do when this happens. You see, that alone, it makes all the whole world of difference. Another thing is this: communication. You see, and you are right, some people are not, they don't know how to communicate. There are different kind of miscommunication. Some people shout without actually getting the message across. Some people are not just articulate. What they are saying, what is coming out of their mouth, is not what is in their head. So when someone is so in the process of communication, because sometimes the reason why the staff may not be doing what they are supposed to do is because they don't understand what their boss is communicating. So if you are in a situation where you feel like, oh, it's like I don't understand what my boss is saying, when your boss gives you an instruction or says you should do something, repeat that instruction back to your boss the way you understand it, and let the boss affirm that that is what he is saying. Because communication is not complete until the person that you are communicating with has the same picture. Because, like someone said, I'm responsible for what I say. I'm not responsible for what you understand. So the person can say whatever they said, but does it mean that that thing that they said, you understand it the way they want you to understand? And so sometimes the reason why some people, some bosses feel like their subordinates are not performing is because they themselves are not effective
Yeah.
communicators. Yes, so,
Yeah.
and you can't change that. They are who they are. But what you can do is to work on yourself and say, okay, so it's like this person doesn't really know how to communicate. So to mitigate against any miscommunication in my work
Sure.
and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
so when you get an instruction, don't just go with that instruction assuming that you understand what the person said. You will now you will reproduce that instruction back to him or her the way you understand it, and let the person affirm that you understand. And make sure, especially when it's in a work environment, make sure it is documented, make sure it is written, so that maybe in an email or maybe you record, it can be a voice note. When I say documented, now you can refer back to it and say this was the conversation, so that when it comes to you defending yourself as to what you did, you are able to have evidence as to what was communicated and what you did. Okay, so I could keep talking, but I believe that, Helena, was I be able to answer your question and give you perspective?
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Bukibash. So I can see that Victor has his hand raised. So because I actually want to hear his own thoughts too, because he also has a lot of work experience, working in a lot of countries and things like that. So I want to hear what he has to say about, work and mental health and and things that someone can do to avoid their burnout. So Victor, you have the floor. Let me know what you think.
Thank you very much, Bash. And hi, everyone. Like I told you, I'm in two meetings, so I'm just hopping from one meeting to another. But fortunately for me, I've been able to follow along, so that's fine. And I do appreciate Buki Bash's perspective. However, I think nobody deserves to be shouted at any kind of work. Nobody deserves to be harassed. Nobody deserves to be talked down at. No, you're there to work. They hired you because they see some value in you, and they should let you do your work. If not, then they can as well just let you go. But having said that, I think Buki Bash's point is, it borders on resilience as well. You can't just quit because somebody did something to make you uncomfortable. But however, I think uh, it's very important for us as workers or as professionals in the workplace to be able to identify when respect is no longer served at the table, and you have to be conscious of it, and you have to take actions. And I do agree that in certain situations you can decide to be the smarter person. You can decide to study your boss's body language. You can decide to be more proactive and things like that. But some people can be very overbearing, and it's not your responsibility to always show up at work hoping that, or being prepared for your boss's harassment, or get to work being prepared that your manager is going to shout at you today. That's a toxic workplace. And I know toxicity has lots of explanations and things like that, but two things I just want to point out is, yeah, sometimes it's important that you weather the storm, be more proactive, be more this, be more that. And on the flip side, I think you shouldn't be you shouldn't let anybody rubbish your self-esteem. If you can no longer take it, then you need to take action. And there is really nothing bad in leaving a job because it's stressing you out. And a lot of things Segun already touched on. I don't want to repeat myself. I just want to share a personal experience. My first 3 months working in a new country, new place of work, and my manager, after he onboarded me 2 days, and he traveled for 1 month, and that was a very horrible period for me because I was just so confused, and I was stressed out every day. You can imagine a company of over 20,000 staff all over 6 countries, and I needed to be able to do my work, but I couldn't do it because I didn't have my manager to sort of show me the ropes. I'll give you an example. So back then, so China and America, so the company had, there's a China office, there's a US office, and because of the relationship between China and America, you have to be careful of the kind of information you mention to the colleagues in China. But I didn't know this. So because of that, I was so afraid to talk to colleagues from the US and in China because I didn't know if I would be saying something right or saying something wrong. And that caused me a lot of stress. At the end of the day, to that 1 month, I looked incompetent because I wasn't really showing up at the meetings I was supposed to because I didn't know what to say. I was so afraid, So it's there are different nuances to what could stress people at work, but the bottom line is if you realize that you're afraid to go to work because somebody's going to scream at you, you realize that you're always anxious, you're always stressed because most of the time you're confused and nobody seems to want to support or help you. If you've tried all the things Buki Bash said and it doesn't work, maybe you should try a different approach. But nobody really deserves to be talked at the place of work. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, all right. Thank you, Victor. I like the point that you raised. Like everybody deserves self-respect. Do you understand? If you feel, you working at a place and you being shouted at is not, you are being disrespected or you don't feel valued, you actually have a choice. Do you understand? So just plan your exit plan. Do you understand? And with time, you definitely leave the organization once you are ready. So we spent about 40 minutes, and I'm going to be rounding up shortly. So I want to ask if the other two people on the call maybe have a question or maybe any other addition. But if you don't, it's also fine because we've dropped a lot of nuggets and it's being recorded. Definitely, the replay is going to be shared on YouTube, and I will encourage that we share with our friends so that they won't miss out on all the information that we shared here. Okay, so Janet and Oluwafemi, any question? Okay, so I'll take your response as no questions. All right, I want to seize the opportunity to thank Helena, Victor, and Buki Bash for the time, for making time to come for the webinar. Thank you so much for all the insights and that you dropped. And Helena, thank you so much for your question. And I'm happy you've been able to get at least some resolve in that. Thank you all so much for making out the time to join the webinar. I will definitely continue again next week with another insightful topic about career. Please know that I'm Segun Basharon. I'm a career coach and a customer experience professional with over 10 years experience. I help people with resume building, LinkedIn optimization, and also open to speaking engagement when it comes to career related topics. I'm your person. Thank you all so much for the time and let us have a great week. All right. Bye guys.